Welcome, everyone, to the One More Game podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, a.k.a. Darce, and with me is the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Leja. Pete, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. One more day of work. It's my Thursday, going into Friday. It's a little early day, but Friday, and all that stuff, So we're getting there. And I had a pretty good week, honestly. And we'll talk about it once we get to what did you play? What have you been playing lately?
So it was a good week in video games, or just a good week in general?
Well, it was a good week. Yeah, it was a good week in general. It wouldn't matter. It was a solid week. You're like a solid B+ player. B+ player.
There you go. You were sitting there thinking about it. You're like, outside of the video games, was it pretty good? I don't know, but it looks like you came around on the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's my Friday. I obviously, as you know, but our listeners don't, that I'm heading out for the weekend. I'm going to a Chicago Fire versus Seattle Sounders game here on Saturday. Gonna watch the Chicago Fire lose, but I mean, it'll be fun because obviously Seattle Sounders are a much better team than the Chicago Fire, so I don't expect us to win, but I'll be happy nonetheless. Just go to the game.
Did you see the conversation in the Discord?
I did.
We were listing all the poorly run Chicago sports franchises, which seems to be all of them, at least all the male sports teams. Not necessarily the Sky, since they're defending world champions and they're like 17-6 this year. Shout out to Ellie Quigley for winning her 4th 3-point contest.
Heck yeah.
When we went to the same school, she's like 3 years older than me, but it was still pretty dope to know her, like 6 separate. What is it? What do they call it? The 6 degrees of separation kind of thing.
Yes, 6 degrees of separation, exactly.
It's really like 2 for me because I know her brother from 8 years of school, so that's pretty dope. Like we're in the same class. Anyway, you never answered. The Chicago Fire poorly one of those poorly run organizations, or are they actually like well run and just having a down year?
They are so that's actually a tough question to answer. They're a decent run team. And the way I say decent is because like they used to be really good. But they have not been good.
Used to be really good.
They have not been good in quite a while. And I'm trying to fix real quick your camera. For some reason, you are no longer moving. You're moving in the Discord, but in the recording itself, you are not moving. So maybe if I take this down and then bring you back up, that'll work. No. Nope, it doesn't work.
Frozen.
So we're just sticking. We're just rocking.
At least it's not a weird picture, and it's not a weird shot of me. So that's the best part.
Yes. At least it's not. But anyway, so what I was trying to get back to, they used to be a good team, but they're not very good anymore. And a lot of the problem I feel has centered around our manager situation. We've just had a revolving door, or it feels like a revolving door of managers as of late. We have a lot of good young talent, but it's just trying to get them up to speed and then have the right tactics for each game. But this year is, personally speaking, has been a better year than in years past, but we're still not very good. So it's just the way to put it, essentially. So hopefully that changes here soon. And again, maybe this weekend we'll have a good win and I'll be happy about that. But I'm not holding my breath to it. But anyways, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in here to the One More Game podcast. This is a podcast that is centered around making sure you're informed about all the video game news happening around the world, whether it is PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, or PC. If there's news that you need to know about, we'll make sure that you know about it. When you're listening to this on your podcast service, make sure you hit the subscribe button or the follow button, depending on what your service offers. And if your podcast service allows reviews, please leave a 5-star review and tell everyone why you love the One More Game podcast, because we really enjoy bringing this to you each and every Friday. If you'd like to be part of the show by asking a question or suggesting a topic for discussion, head on over to our website, pressstartnews.net/onemoregame, and fill out this submission form, and your submission could be used on the next episode. Or you can drop your comments here in chat as we live stream it over on youtube.com/pressstart28. and we will reference it as it comes up. And now I do want to just say real quick before I say the last thing, you're still frozen, so this part is like really weird doing it because I have to keep like bringing the Discord up to make sure you're actually paying attention to me or not. But shout out or calling out really quick, Cobalt Hawk, one of our faithful listeners and supporters of Press Start, for trying to call me out saying that I practice that every day. I just want to go on the record and say I didn't even look at anything while I did it. I just basically looked at the camera because it is so ingrained in my head now that I don't even have to practice. That's just what you call a profession now. All right, that's what we do here.
When you get as good as Jeremy, you just don't have to practice. You just do.
Exactly. But everyone, if this is your first time to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy your listen and I hope you enjoy your stay. If you are returning, you already know what it is. We start off every single podcast talking about what we've been playing lately. So, Pete, what have you been playing lately?
The still frame's making me chuckle. Really, something nonsense.
I'm still trying to fix it. Let me just say that. I don't know what's going on.
All right. So anyway, a brief recap. A few weeks ago, I was talking about a game called Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which is a prequel to a game coming out soon. It is a Metroidvania game. I've played that on and off for the last several weeks, and I dropped it. And I dropped it because it seemed like it was a fun game, but it was really repetitive, really dull in that sense. The storyline didn't really captivate me. Basically, you're running around as I only got to like one of the characters, and it was one of those. I only got to one of the characters. You're running around trying to be an adventurer, and the way to be like authorized in the one town that you're in, you have to get like 25 stamps or something like that, doing various odd jobs, and the game shows that you have two other characters, and I actually met one of them, a giant bipedal deer, which was kind of cool, but it was like a strong silent type. He only said the character only said like a couple words, my character, and then sauntered off screen, and I didn't meet him again before I conceded the match. And so after playing it for a while, I decided to ask one of my friends who had also been playing it. They said that they 100%ed it, and I said, so I'm at this, I'm doing this thing, I'm getting these stamps. Does the game ever change? Does the storyline ever change? It's like, nah, and they said, no, it's kind of mostly the same of what you just keep doing. Like it kind of just like it might veer off occasionally, but the stamps are kind of like the impetus and the way to continue the progress of the story. And I was just like, okay, well, even if I get like a couple other characters, like it's a fun game. If you like Metroidvania games, you'll like this one. And if you have Xbox Game Pass, you get it for free. So give it a shot. If you like the Eiyuden Chronicles series, I know, like I said, this is a prequel to one of the games that are coming out. I think it's this year, right, Jeremy?
Next year.
Next year. Okay, next year. So if you want to like prequel for that, or if you like Metroidvania, I do recommend playing it. But the story just didn't captivate me at all. And we can talk about as long or as short as you want to about the next one, but since you're a Steam stalker, you might know what I'm going to say next. Since I played like 30 hours of it over the last week, with 22nd anniversary of Final Fantasy IX last week, and unfortunately the passing of Kazuki Takahashi, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh manga, which spawned a magnificent franchise. I went back and started playing Final Fantasy IX again, and man, that game is so good. It's so damn good. Oh man, I am loving it. It is part of my triumvirate of video games for a reason. It is in my pantheon. It is my favorite game of all time. I strongly recommend anybody that likes any kind of JRPGs to give it a try. It is fantastic. You gotta like the old style JRPGs. You gotta like the ATB, turn by turn based combat, that kind of thing. But man, I'd totally forgotten. My favorite thing about the Tales of series, those JRPGs, is the skits they do. And Final Fantasy IX even has that variation. They have the ATEs, the active time events, where like you like walk around town and all of a sudden, or like when you go from scene to scene, you have like a press to select. I forgot they even had those. They even have their own skits. It's fantastic. I'm like, man, every time I learn more about this. But one last point, I almost screwed myself in the game. I had never done this before. So after a certain point, I returned to Alexandria after it was attacked. right at the beginning of the disc 3, because I got the chocobo that can climb mountains. And I parked my chocobo too close to the town, and every time I tried to board my chocobo, I ended up going back into Alexandria. I was like, oh no. And I hadn't saved in like a couple hours, because I was just doing like various like side quests and stuff, mainly the chocobo hunt and cold game. I was like, oh no. So I was like looking online. It's like, is there any way I can do? Is there anything I can do? And I was like, da 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 da. And then I found out like even if it doesn't look like you can hit circle to like board your chocobo by distance, you can actually board it a lot further than you think you can. And it turned out I was able to actually get on the chocobo. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do all that 2 hours over again. So close. It was hilarious. I've even found new stuff that I haven't done before and experiencing. It's really cool.
I would definitely have had like a mini heart attack catching my breath on that situation as well, especially if you haven't saved in a while, as you said. Also, real quick, shout out.
Can they see me do the action? Oh, they saw it. Okay, cool.
I fixed it while you were talking, so you're all good.
I just realized that like if that was still I've been doing all these facial reactions and nobody knew what the hell I was going on.
I should have just pretended you didn't. You still have you're still the image.
That would be great.
I just finally like played and beat, like obviously I played it as a kid, but I never beat Final Fantasy IX, as you know, for a long time. But I finally played and beat Final Fantasy IX a few years. I want to say it was 2020. It was during the pandemic at some point. I picked it up on Nintendo Switch, and I really enjoyed it. I still of course don't have it as highly as you do, but I still did really love the game. And I also understand why some people may have a huge love for it. But yeah, I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And of course, the version you picked up, I think, is like quote unquote the HD upgrade.
Yeah,
right?
It's whatever Steam has. Yeah, I think it's the HD
so
upgrade. Because graphics definitely looked a lot better than I remember it, even from the PS1 for sure.
Yeah, so like I think definitely for myself, having the 2 times speed helped at certain points too, where it was just like, all right, cool.
Oh, that's another thing. So I didn't realize this. I had the game paused at one point, and there are various like secret code things you can press. Not like codes, but they're like buttons you can press and they activate things. I accidentally activated my swords dealing 9,999 damage. So I went to do like one of the side quests, and and they did it. I was like, wow, that is a really strong weapon. I never knew it could do that. And then I realized like 5 minutes later, after I kept doing it, I was like, okay, wait a minute here. And I looked, I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Why would they just let that be a thing? It was so fun.
You're like, this is crazy. I've just all of a sudden got super strong.
And my character's like level 12. How is it doing like 10,000 damage? What is going on?
But yeah, so I'm glad that you're, of course, enjoying it. I still haven't played Eiyuden Chronicles Rising yet, so I'll eventually, or I hope to get to it at some point, but I haven't gotten there yet. For myself, it's actually been a lot of, so side note, a lot of game development and playing The Last Remnant. So like I'm just playing a lot more of The Last Remnant still. I played it on stream yesterday, as of recording, so on Wednesday, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of people join. I got some new followers off of it too. People that were reminiscing on The Last Remnant and were like, "Oh, I just was hoping somebody was streaming it," and here you are. And I'm like, good. "Yeah, I'm the only one streaming it." But
get them extra guys.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's you should go watch at the very least the end of the stream if you guys are watching this, because the final stream I stumbled upon a epic monster basically, and I had trouble with this epic monster, and at first I almost had a situation like you were talking about where in Last Remnant, I think I made mention of this before, but you can't run from a battle. So once you get into a battle, you are stuck in that battle till you win. So you either win it or you lose it, and you lose your progress. And I hadn't saved in a while, and I did this fight in a side mission and, killed these things. And then there was this creature still alive, like after I got out of the battle. And for some reason, my mind thought, oh, this must be part of the side mission. So I went right into that battle, and it was an epic monster, and I'm like, oh no, like this is not good. Yeah, exactly, that facial expression. And I was doing fine at first. I'm like, all right, this is good. And then the monster used a move called Dust Devil 3, and that thing literally almost wiped all 3 of my Union units. And I'm like, oh no, and then I died, and I was so upset. I was like, I hadn't saved in a while. I just lost all that progress. But then I remembered the day before I had found in the settings that you can turn on an autosave. And thank God I turned that on because I had an autosave file that I was able to load up. So then, we progressed trying to destroy this monster for a while. I was getting my ass kicked. And then on the final attempt before I ended my stream, we finally did it. But it did not look good to start. Literally starts the fight and it kills 2 of my units. I have 1 unit left and I can't revive the other 2. So I was like, oh no, we're already downhill. But I was triumphant and came out on top. I think I made mention of it last week, but I do want to just make mention of it again if I can. That you guys, if you want to watch the stream, go over to my twitch.tv/Darcy28. Of course, I won't be streaming this weekend, but you can go over there to watch it. I'm playing the delisted PC version of The Last Remnant. However, there is The Last Remnant Remaster that is out for PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, and I found out yesterday when I was looking it up, it's also out at least for Android on the Google Play Store. I don't know if it is for iOS, but on PlayStation, it is still currently only $10, and it is well worth the purchase. So I recommend getting that. And then I also just want to make mention for you, basically, even though I haven't played it yet, but during the Steam Summer Sale, I didn't pick up any game until the very final day, and I picked up 1 game. Can you guess what it was?
1 game in the Steam Summer Sale?
Summer Sale on the very last day. Can you guess what it was?
Last day. Oh my God.
Don't go
Naruto
cheating. No.
I wasn't cheating. I was literally just going like, I don't know, man.
I heard clicking, so I thought you were pulling up like Steam.
No. I'm sorry. No. I was like, what did Jeremy do? I'm not Steam stalker like you, jerk.
Oh, okay. No, I picked up on the very final day. Steam Summer Sale added, and it was literally for the final day. Residence of Fate for sale, so I picked it up myself.
Oh, there you go.
I am now the owner of Residence of Fate myself.
Up top.
But no, I literally all summer sale kept being like, dude, please have this, and they didn't, and I was just like so upset. And then the very final day, I just decided to look again, and sure enough, it was on sale. I was like, perfect.
Damn nice. So, gaming's fun, man. Gaming's awesome.
Heck yeah. Well, we're gonna talk a lot about video games here in a little bit because we've been talking about what we've been playing quite a bit. Let's get to our gaming catalog because I did jam pack this as I always do because we have some things about Unity merging with a company that developers are not happy with. The new Skate game came out with some updates, and we're going to talk a little bit about those. Ubisoft trying to clear the air about a misunderstanding that happened earlier this week, and PlayStation dropping a bit of news. That's all coming up here on the One More Game podcast, but we're going to get started with our lead title, our main title, and that is Unity is merging with a company who made a malware installer. This is coming from PC Gamer, written by Jody McGregor, and it goes as follows. Unity, the company behind the multi-platform game engine of the same name, announced it has entered into an agreement to merge with ironSource. If you don't know ironSource, Unity's statement reads, they bring a proven record of helping creators focus on what creators do best, bringing great apps and user experiences to life while enabling business expansion in the app economy. ironSource is also well known for another reason. It developed InstallCore, a wrapper for bundling software installations. And if you've searched a popular program and seen a link to a third-party site with a URL that ended in something like downloadb.net or HD download, I should say, .net, it may have been used with InstallCore. And if you made the mistake of downloading it, you'd offer the kind of extras with generic names like Reg Clean Pro and driver support an unsophisticated user might click OK on, which is how you end up with a PC full of toolbars and junk that's as slow as your parents' is. InstallCore was obnoxious enough, Windows Defender will stop it running, and malware bites too. As documented by Microsoft's chief economist for web experience, strategy, and policy, Ben Edelman, InstallCore was also behind a fake installer for a Windows version of Snapchat, a program that's only ever been available on mobile. It would instead install Android emulator BlueStacks as well as the usual injection of adware. Game developers who use Unity are less than thrilled about the merger. Andrea Gaita, who runs gaming porting studio Spoiled Cat, tweeted that a game engine is a thing that you use to build and distribute games to devices. The vendors of those devices, like Apple, need to trust that the engine is not bundling bad things along with that game. Merging with a company that specializes in bundling malware is what the fuck? Or as Maddie Thorson of Celeste Fam succinctly put it, man, fuck Unity. So there's some other things here about this. Of course, I'm going to kind of just skip down a little bit to what Unity basically said with this. Unity and ironSource's complementary data and product capabilities will give creators access to better funding for user acquisition and monetizing to successfully scale their games and accelerate their economic performance. Pete, I know you looked quite a bit into this. You said before the podcast that you looked into it probably a little bit too much or spent a little too much time on it. But I got to ask you, what is your reaction to seeing this news?
Well, the opening quote that they have, if you don't know ironSource, Unity's statement reads, they bring a proven record of helping creators focus on what creators do best, bringing great apps and user experiences to life while enabling business expansion in the app economy. That basically always tells you all it needs to know. Because basically what that means is like, look, yeah, we work with developers. We're focused on making money. We're trying to make the most money that we can. And you know, the way we can make the most money with a bunch of free-to-play games is ads. So we're going to find an ad installer. This is not Unity's first acquisition or merger. Even this year, they announced the acquisition of Ziva Dynamics, a Vancouver-based VFX company, in January of this year. The article even also says they acquired VFX studio Weta Digital, which is owned or was owned at the time by Peter Jackson, the creator of Lord of the Rings movies trilogy. The engine developer acquired that digital group, Weta Digital, had the tech behind the films of like The Lord of the Rings, as stated, and also Avatar and Shang-Chi. And that's kind of my take. I mean, it's a money grab. That's all it is. The ironSource has caused a lot of issues. They are created programs that have been called by malware out by Windows Defender, which most computers, if you have a Windows system on it as Windows Defender, it will stop it running. And also malware bytes, which is like adjacent malware protector. So a lot of their stuff is just going to download ads and stuff like that to force you to watch it. And if you played any kind of free-to-play video games lately, you'll know that you'll see a lot of ads on them. The interesting part about this is that Unity probably the biggest thing about it is Unity's engine that the developers use is used by a ton of games. I mean, we're talking about free-to-play games. Some of the bigger, even just some of the bigger name ones are Among Us, Genshin Impact, Fall Guys, Azure Lane. These are a lot of big name games. It's not just like random games you never heard of. These are like some top games that are really popular and really successful in the last several years. And, Unity is going to have this InstallCore possibly as a part of their engine now, which, yeah, it's going to turn people away. It's going to turn developers away. Like the quote that you mentioned in the article said before the FU Unity quote came up was, like a lot of these big app companies, like, you have an Android that has a Google shop and Apple store. They're going to want confidence that you're not going to be downloading random crap on people's phones, because the backlash is going to not come on you. Likely it's going to come on the App Store because they let it to exist. So game developers are going to have to question, like, are we, especially if this is InstallCore is going to be something that they just are going to force you to use on their, when you're developing games on their engine, like that's going to be a problem for them. And I don't know if you looked up any of this, Jeremy. This is kind of the reason why I dove deeper. the CEO, John Riccitiello is not exactly been known for his being really good at speaking and talking and being PC about all this. After while having an interview with PocketGamer.biz, in the same interview where he called developers pure and brilliant, he proceeded to call them some of the biggest fucking idiots because they don't want to put monetization early on in the game development. A lot of them, a significant portion of them do. So it's not like it's obvious what he wants or what the CEO wants is to make more money, and they want monetization as early as possible on a lot of these games. So that's my opinion is, it's a money grab, and that's all these companies are trying to do is get more money out of you, squeeze wring every last dollar and cent and penny they can out of you and out of me and out of everybody else, because that is what they do.
I did not know that, but that is hilarious and shocking at the same time. Oh my god. But yeah, that is wow. But yeah, my reaction is simply, of course, as we've said before, and I will just say as well, I'm not going to be one of those people just because I'm dabbling in game development now and messing around and stuff. I'm still not a game developer. Let me just put it that way. But sure. Just go look at the reactions of the announcement and just the quote tweets coming out of that. And again, as the article put, a lot of people are unhappy about this move, and I understand it. Again, just because you're partnering with a company that had made a malware installer, you're gonna feel unsure about what the future of your game is gonna look like and what that means for the reception around it, down the line. Before I get to what's been put in our chat, but I just wanted to read up. I had it linked in our rundown, as you know, but I linked to this Twitter post by Shanna Andrea Gaita that we talked a little bit about. It was the one that said the message before about these engines need to know, or these platforms need to know that you have a good system behind it. You're not going to put bad things in there. She also put, wait, what? Unity is merging with a company best known for its malware delivery system, so popular that it has its own entries, and VirusTotal was blacklisted on Windows by Microsoft and was used to spread fake Flash installers through the Equifax site. What? And she has huge threads on this. Again, you can look at the negative reception all around this. A lot of people, I saw a lot of developers saying, all right, if this is the move you're doing, I'm dropping Unity. I'm going to go to other developers. I'm going to use other engines, whether it was Unreal. Another popular one I saw in there started with a G. I don't exactly remember what it was off the top of my head. But going into what's been put into chat by David Zorbrist, he said Unity had problems with corrupted Unity ads data due to an algorithm mistake. Unity already supported ironSource within their new mediation SDK beta. Now they are replacing their corrupted data. That's the good side of it. So I will say, yeah, of course, if they're already having ironSource in their system and there was this, issue as you're talking about with the ads data being corrupted, that makes sense to make this fix. But I think a lot of developers are saying, and again, as a non-developer myself, but just a gamer, it doesn't feel good when you hear a engine that is used, as you talked about, widely by a lot of people. It is partnering or essentially merging with a known company that made a malware installer. So what does that mean for your game and the future games that you're looking at? So I don't know what that is going to look like down the road, what the reception will be around this, but I do agree with what David did say in chat, as well as, of course, from your quote, Pete, the CEO needs to be replaced, because you cannot call basically the people who use your service idiots. It just can't.
Not great, Bob. No,
it's not great. And David also put it in there. The one I was thinking of is Godot. That was the one that a lot of people were talking about switching to, because Unity is better for 2D games and making use for some indie developers. Now, I know Unreal Engine 5 is supposed to be making that more simple approach for those, but Unreal has always been more for the hyper-realistic games and also, of course, for more advanced. So I'm curious where the next move goes from this. And I got to ask you, Pete, before we kind of move on from that, is what do you think should be the next move? Do you think Unity should, I guess, like help with clearing the air around this? Does this mean you think the next move should be developers binding together? What do you think of that?
Well, I think the next move for Unity needs to be, like you said, clearing the air. I mean, as David Zobrist in our chat said, this was a lot of this is backlash from something that happened a few years ago, and in an update in that article where I got that information from that tweet chain, about the CEO. The Unity spokesperson did provide a statement that said, "We are seeing developers talking negatively about ironSource's involvement in malware campaigns or being behind malware spreading, referencing old articles about historical desktop activity that was deprecated and spun off several years ago," the spokesperson stated. "Like any large-scale desktop advertising platform, despite monitoring and enforcement, the desktop platform occasionally suffered from bad actors who tried to abuse the platform." I mean, you gotta make people confident that you're not gonna have any of these quote unquote bad actors. Like, that's the big thing you got to do, because if this is just a one-off from some random person in your companies, is just like in your company, like that's a really big thing to not notice what they were doing. It's like, it's kind of a problem. So at the very least, your overseeing needs to be done better if you're Unity.
Exactly. So yeah, we'll see what goes on, and we'll see again how game devs react as the days unfollow, and of course if Unity gives out a response, and we'll try to of course bring that up on the podcast if those things do arise. So we're gonna go to our next article. This is coming from The Verge, and we're talking about Skate, and it says Skate's developers say going free to play is a natural evolution for the franchise. This is of course coming from The Verge, written by Jay Peters, and it goes as follows. EA's new Skate is going to be a live service free-to-play skateboarding game, developer Full Circle announced in a video on Thursday. Fans have been eagerly asking for some kind of Skate 3 follow-up for years, but this new title won't be Skate 4 they might have been expecting. Instead of a numbered iteration, Full Circle is imagining Skate, and that's the name, but they are serializing it with a period after the end, so to try to, I guess, differentiate from the original Skate, as a constantly evolving world with community-created content that's easy for everyone to ollie into. Quote, "It's an authentic evolution of the franchise and taking what Skate 3 was in 2010 and bringing it to now and to the future," Darren Chung, a creative director on Skate, said in an interview with The Verge. "That is not only an evolution of the franchise, but it's an evolution of where skateboarding is and was from 2010 to now, and also where games are from then to now. Skate will be available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC with crossplay and cross-progression, and the developers are exploring a mobile version, but the full release is still a long ways away. In June, Full Circle debuted pre-alpha footage and invited players to sign up to playtest Skate, but there hasn't been given any information or release for time frame from launch." I'm going to kind of skip down a little bit to a point that where is it in this article, where some people were raising, of course, concerns around it going free to play. Let's see here. Where is it? Basically, here is Chung impressed on me that even though exactly what's in the game isn't locked yet, it's, quote, "going to be Skate. It's going to feel like Skate. It will be a Skate game." So, Pete, I don't know if you were a Skate fan at all, but what is your reaction to this new iteration going the free-to-play model?
I was always more of a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater guy myself, but I mean, I'm down for a new series of skateboarding games. The thing that I really enjoyed, that I really liked, and you were kind of touching on it a little bit towards the end there, it does seem like that they are really harping on any monetization, any microtransactions. They're not going to be involved in the actual playing of the game. Like, it's not going to be like levels are going to be locked or things like that. From what it seems like, it's just going to be cosmetic and that kind of thing. So I really enjoy that. If you're going to make a free to play game, instead of forcing people to play just to have access, pay to play, as it were, making it so like, hey, we want you to if you want to support us, great. Here are ways you can support us. You can get like cool skateboards. You can get cool gear or whatever. Make your characters look all different as opposed to, you know, if you were just free to play. And I'm down with that. So that's the thing I'm really not surprised, but happy about that if they're going that route. Hopefully they stick to that route. I mean, there's other games that have started it that way, and they, you know, eventually just are like, well, you know, new levels are kind of cosmetic. You don't have to play the new levels to play the game or something like that. So hopefully they don't end up deviating from that route. I'm also really excited, like I said, about a new possible skateboarding game. And it's just I appreciate that the way they're going about it is to try to make this open world skateboarding game to go free online. I'm a little questionable, honestly, about how a mobile game would work. I know phones are like super advanced from back when I was a kid, back in my day and all that, you know. But I don't know how an open world skateboarding game would work on mobile as well as it would be on your computer or on your video game system. That's probably my biggest question about that, along with would they keep to their statement of the microtransactions solely being cosmetic or superficial, as it were.
That's my biggest thing, because granted, they haven't done this in a sense with Apex Legends, but we are talking about EA here, and that's my biggest thing. Is I could easily see them doing something like this, saying, hey, there's not going to be any kind of microtransactions that is going to be affecting your gameplay, it's just cosmetics. And then as time goes on, well, I shouldn't say as time goes on, and then come around release, they'll be like, oh yeah, and here's this like section of the map that is locked behind, you know, paying for season 1 pass, right? Like doing things where it's like, yes, in a sense, you don't have to buy it, right? And it's not impacting your game. But if you buy the season pass with this thing, we'll give you these extra things that do impact your game, right? So that's my biggest question on it. I know that Full Circle has seemingly been doing very well when it comes to trying to preserve what skate fans really liked about the game. I was not a big skate person. I was like you as a kid. I was a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater person. But as I got older, I actually really got away from all skating games. So like I didn't play a lot of the Tony Hawk games towards the end of the Tony Hawk run before the remaster a few years ago. And Skate 3 was something that like I played a little bit with some friends, but I just never got it myself and played a lot. So I think for as a gamer standpoint, is just as long as you truly do continue to just take that care that you were thinking for Skate 3 or taking from Skate 3 and put it into this, I'm fine with a free-to-play version. I love free-to-play games in a sense because, of course, it is that similar nature of like when you have a subscription service like Xbox Game Pass or, of course, like PlayStation Plus Premium, where it's like, hey, I can try this game out, and if I don't like it, I'm not hurt by it, right? Whereas if it was, I got to throw $60-$70 at it, then it's a little more like, well, like, do I really want to get it? And if I don't like it, what do I do with it? Because now I put my money into it. And I was listening to some other discussions around this, some people that are bigger skate fans, and I think like what this could do, especially with the mode that they talk about a little bit later in the article, the collab zones, kind of like basically a player creation center and stuff. It feels like this is like going to be one of those where you really can just like jump in, hang out, do some tricks, do some things with your friends, and then like kind of go about your ways. Or you continue to go on there and just bust, some stuff, trying to get like challenges, achievements, things of that nature. So I like this free-to-play model, but of course, until we get closer to like what it truly will be like, that's the biggest question. And that's the last part that I want to ask you is basically sometimes, not every game, but sometimes when games go the free-to-play model, they launch very bare bones. Not a whole lot of content, not a lot of things to really do. And they really try to like basically use you buying cosmetics to slowly roll out some actual content to really get in there. If that is the case with Skate, do you feel people will feel people will jump ship quickly?
I think the people that love Skate as long as you give them, like you were saying before, this kind of the spirit that they were looking for, I don't think that they will necessarily jump ship that quickly. Now, the question to that is, if you're going very bare bones, like like you're suggesting, not suggesting that they do, but saying that what if that happens? Like, will you be able to give them that experience? And the answer to that is, as someone who's never played Skate or never really played Skate that much, I don't know personally. I don't know how in depth those games are. The big thing is, you are putting yourself on a clock. You are putting yourself on a time limit to make content and also make the game be, add to that spirit, and also increase the spirit of the skate games of old that attracted people to you in the first place. And you need to be very careful that you don't take too long, even if you go bare bones. Because even if you do go bare bones and you hit it right on the money, and even like the very minimum that you do, like people are like, oh, this is Skate, this is the way I remember it, I love it. They're going to get bored eventually, and the main way that free-to-play games, the main way that free-to-play games tend to work to keep you playing is they make you do things to come in daily. They give you daily quests or whatever. I mean, what's the daily quest for Skate going to be like? Oh, go and do 5 tricks, get 500 points doing tricks or whatever, things like that, and here's 5 coins. So I mean, like I said, you're going to be putting yourself on a time limit. You got to make sure whatever you're doing, you have a plan to go forward, to progress forward. Because if you're also doing that, you're also probably using your gamers as basically to play testers to make sure everything's working okay. So if things ain't working okay, and you released already like a very bare game, you will lose fans quickly, no matter how much of the spirit you have on that.
Yeah, and I want to just put this last thing in here before we move on. Cobalt, who I did call out earlier, it joined in our chat, and he said this very nicely here, and I do agree with, especially with the cadence of games that have been coming out recently, and we don't know when Skate's going to come out, but I'm assuming there'll be games around it. And it is the problem with providing something bare bones. The moment someone else gives a bit more content, people will switch, and that's the biggest thing, especially as a free-to-play model. The way that they're describing Skate as this ever-evolving type of game, you got to make sure that you keep the content going enough to get people in, or at least get people to jumping back into it when that new content comes out. Because yeah, if you're not having people stick around, then it's not going to be long lasting. We're going to go to our next article here. This is coming from Games Radar, and it is written by Austin Wood. It goes as follows: Ubisoft relists Assassin's Creed Liberation on Steam and says it will remain playable. So Assassin's Creed Liberation HD is back on Steam with a new blurb from Ubisoft affirming that the base game will remain playable even after its online elements are turned off as the publisher sunsets 15 multiplayer games. So I added this because of this whole fiasco that had around this, and we'll get to that part here in a second. But the new Steam disclaimer reads, DLC for this product and online elements and features will become unavailable as of September 1st, 2022. The base game will be continued to be playable. This corrects some misunderstanding because of a previous disclaimer, which was posted when the game was pulled from the Steam store. At the request of the publisher, Assassin's Creed Liberation HD is no longer available for sale on Steam. It read specifically and noted the game, quote, will not be accessible following September 1st, 2022. Now, in a follow-up statement about the game being decommissioned, Ubisoft only said it was assessing all available options for players who will be impacted by big sunsetting. And in a second statement, Ubisoft confirmed that people who already own Assassin's Creed Liberation specifically will still be able to play it going forward. Now, with today's update, we know that Liberation will not only remain playable, but it will still be purchasable. This follows a flood of overwhelming negative reviews, of course, virtually all citing the game's previously planned shuttering around this. Now, I got to ask you, Pete, because there's a little bit of extra information, but I'm not worth adding to it. So first off, I don't know if you saw the original thing, but I saw the whole fiasco unfolding before my eyes on social media about this. But I have kind of two-part questions. So one is the hypothetical, and then the second is basically how they handled this. So hypothetically, let's say that they did actually remove the game and we're going to sunset it. The game was on sale during the Steam summer sale, and people picked it up. How would you feel if you had picked it up on the most recent summer Steam sale and learned that at the same time, you only had till September 1st to play it. And then secondly, how do you feel about the way that they have, I guess, brought it back following the outcry?
So usually so we've had conversations similar to this before where like a game goes free to play like a certain period of time, usually a few years after like it's being sold at a regular price. And my response to that is usually it's not that big of a problem in my eyes, because you paid for the product and you got a benefit from the product. You can still go and play it. Yeah, you spent money on it, but you got it before other people were able to get it for free. You theoretically at that point got some kind of benefit. And also like when you buy a game and you have a really enjoyable experience, you are essentially being recouped your funds because you paid for that product and that entertainment. In this case, I would say that that's a load of horse crap, because if they were not were they upfront? So before I continue, I gotta ask: were they upfront before or after buying? Did they not come out with this until after?
It was after the summer. It was after the sale ended.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's a load of horse crap, because you just made, even if it's like 50% off, you made a bunch of $10 investments on something that's would only be around for another 2 months max, not even, because the summer sale ended like the 6th of July or whatever, or the 9th of July or whatever it did. So not even 2 months. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. Like, we got your $10 up. Sorry, you're not going to have the game in now you're paying like a rental fee and that's a load of crap. There's no reason for that, especially because as far as I know, the game's basically a single player game. Like, yeah, it has online aspects and stuff, but you could play the single player. So there's no reason to be like, oh, by the way, you don't get the game anymore because you can't play it. The other stuff, in response to your second question, the fact that they brought it back is good. The fact you could still buy it, I assume, after the September 1st date to play it if you wanted to. It's on sale for Steam right now for $19.99 for people that are interested in it. The DLC and the online elements, I mean, if that's being sunset, the DLC seems a little weird, but I assume it's tied directly to the online elements itself. It's not like extra like gear or stuff like that you can use in game. And if it is, I kind of don't know why that's being sunsetted at that point. I would think that they would just let you keep using it. If that's all just online stuff and they just don't want to deal with it anymore because they want to allocate those resources to other places, like, that's fine. I get it. Companies and games do that all the time. But like, just tearing the game off, especially after you're like screwing people, a certain percentage of people out of their money because they're like, oh man, this game's on sale for $10 or $5. And then all of a sudden like, oh, by the way, yeah, you have a time limit for that. That's just real dirty. I'm really glad they decided to backtrack on this one.
Yeah, I'm glad that they decided to backtrack, but my first reaction is, why did you even think this to begin with? Like, I know you kind of alluded to this, right? But it's like, Ubisoft has been on this, in personal speaking, they've been on this weird cycle as of late where like a lot of people seem to be really turning negative towards Ubisoft and how they've approached their games and the future of their games. And of course, using Elden Ring, for instance, the big backlash that people had over the UI of Elden Ring and Assassin's Creed and all that jazz. So like, they've already been not on the best of terms basically with gamers. Yeah. And exactly as you said, like this literally came out, I think it was like 4 or 5 days now after the sale ended. They're just like, hey, literally pulled the game and was like, hey, you're not going to be able to play this after September 1st. And the way that this article reads, I didn't know there was a follow-up statement from there. But the way that the article reads is it makes it sound like when they were pressed on it, being like, hey, why did you end up removing this? Like for, journalistic questions, they were just like, hey, we're just trying to see what our options are for the people that'll be impacted. It's like, no, if you bought the game, and especially as you said, this is not an online only game where like I'm turning the servers off. Of course, that game is no longer going to be playable. This is a single player game. If I bought this game, I should be able to continue playing it basically until ad nauseum, basically whenever I decide I don't want to play it anymore. So it's weird that this even happened. I know it sparked a lot of discussions online, of course, about buying physical versus digital. Also, about the game's preservation discussion that continues to be brought up all the time through all avenues and all platforms. And of course, then it turned towards pirating and emulation and things of that nature, and all these discussions that could be brought into this. But just at the end of the day, what I need to say is basically for Ubisoft, I'll use Square Enix in here, and any developer that you're thinking of from here, don't put a game on sale that is a single player game and then very next day essentially say, hey, in a month you're no longer going to get to play this game. That is not good. You're not going to get good publicity off of that. I'll just tell you right away. And again, at the end of it, we should not be trying to fight, so to speak, for being able to continue playing a single player game afterwards. So
it's ridiculous. I mean, we could go all day about physical versus digital and just essentially renting and people telling you whether you can or cannot. That is just a whole topic in itself. It's crazy.
That's a whole podcast episode. Maybe we'll have that podcast episode here in the coming future. But because of timing, I'm going to move on to our next thing, and this is coming from IGN, written by Ryan Dinsdale, and it is Sony is introducing a new loyalty program called PlayStation Stars. It goes as follows. Sony has announced a new rewards program called PlayStation Stars that will allow players to earn points with real cash value. Announced on the PlayStation blog, the loyalty program will begin later this year, excuse me. We don't know exactly when, and it'll be free to sign up for. Players will be able to complete objectives, with some as simple as just playing a game once a month, to earn points that can later be redeemed on the PlayStation Store or for other rewards. The catalog of items may include PSN wallet funds and select PlayStation Store products, and members of PlayStation Plus will also receive points for purchasing items on the store, similar to the My Nintendo program on Switch. Outside of PlayStation Store related rewards, users can also earn digital collectibles that are, quote, digital representation of things the PlayStation fans enjoy, including figurines of beloved and iconic characters from games and other forms of entertainment, as well as cherished devices that tap into Sony's history of innovation. Now, I do want to put in here, because it was later clarified, that Sony has said that is not NFTs. It has nothing to do with NFTs. You cannot trade these, so these are not NFTs. They're just digital things that you can have. There's a little bit of other things, but
these
again,
are fungible.
yeah, these are fungible. They're not non-fungible tokens. So I want to ask you, Pete, just because, of course, again, there's some more context to this, but like it, dislike it, what's your thoughts?
I like it. I'm not the biggest 100% completion guy, but it's interesting, and it gives people an incentive to play games. It kind of sort of pays them back and be like, it's like we called it a loyalty program. It's like, hey, buddy, thanks for spending time with us today. I mean, and it basically cost PlayStation. It doesn't cost them a whole lot, presumably, for all the stuff that they're going to be giving out. One of the things that, and we talked about a lot about free-to-play games, they're not actually free-to-play. Free-to-play games are not free-to-play, and the reason why is because the currency that you are spending may not be actual fiat currency. It is time. Time is the currency that you are spending to actually play these games, and the more you play these games, the more likely you're going to spend money on their cosmetics or whatever, what have you. But loyalty programs are a way to pay you back for spending your time playing their stuff. And a lot of these people that are probably going to be on these loyalty programs, I think you have to be one of the PlayStation Plus. So you're actually spending fiat money, I believe, right? That's what the
no, you can sign up you can sign up at all. You can sign up regardless if you have PlayStation Plus, but PlayStation Plus users do get an extra benefit from using this.
So they're even paying back people that pay back to them. The only thing that seems a little odd to me is the suggestion that they're going to have like a local time zone trophy specifically for somebody that beats the first person that 100% completes a game. And that seems a little odd to me. Like, why wouldn't you just reward it? Because how many people would actually 100% complete a game in general anyway, in a specific local time zone or whatever?
I don't know, man. There's massive trophy hunters out there.
I get it, but that's probably not a major part of your audience, even in the loyalty program game. So why not just give it to all of them? I guess that's the
I
That's what
get
I'm
that's
saying.
agree.
Is
I
like,
agree.
why give
Okay.
it specifically to the first one? Give it to all of them. I don't like why separate one from the other. It seems weird to me. But I mean, the trophy hunters can have their little streaming sessions against each other, have battles, and try to figure out who gets it first. And it'll be adorable and whatever, and people will be entertained and that kind of thing. That's really the only question I have. But I mean, in general, it feels mostly harmless, and pays people back, pays customers back. In an episode where we talked a lot about companies not doing well with customer service and rep, it seems like this one's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, just to kind of make it quick, is I'm a huge fan of this because I love the My Nintendo's program. Obviously, if you buy games with Nintendo, you get gold coins, which you can basically transfer that straight to money. So one coin basically equals 1 cent. And if you buy it digitally, you get more than you get if you buy it physically. But even if you buy physically, you can redeem points. And I love it. I've actually purchased Final Fantasy IX that we talked earlier. I purchased that over the pandemic using the gold coins. I didn't have to pay at all for it. So that was like really cool. And so, like, I've always been like, oh, I wish PlayStation had something like this, because I buy more games for PlayStation than I do basically anything else. Maybe my Steam would be the next closest. And so this is like great to me. I really enjoy this. I just wonder how will the execution of it will be. That's always the big thing with this, because on paper, this seems good. This seems really, great. And they don't have to do hard, they don't have to try too hard, because literally it sounds like it's a mashup of the My Nintendo rewards and the Xbox Game Pass quests, which Xbox Game Pass quests, you do some, basically quests through the Xbox Game Pass. You claim your quest achievements that you do, and you can use those points to purchase digital gift cards, things like that. So, like, it literally just sounds like it's a mash of the two. You just got to put it together and roll it out. But we've notoriously seen companies where it seems like it's such an easy decision to just hand it out, and they just fumble it. So, like, that's my only thing, is execution, as long as you doing something like this. So I'm glad that this is rolling out. We're going to move on to our next article real quick, and that is we have the first PlayStation Plus mid-month update, and it came out, or is coming out, next week. This is coming from GameSpot, written by Eddie Mekich, and it is the new PlayStation Plus games for extra and premium members in July has been announced. I'm going to basically go down and just read off the ones that are coming out. So, for the ones that are coming out on July 19th for extra and premium members, it is Assassin's Creed Unity, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered, Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, Assassin's Creed The Ezio Collection, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Marvel's Avengers, Saints Row the 4th Re-Elected, Saints Row Get Out of Hell, Spirit of the North Enhanced Edition, Ice Age Scrat Nutty Adventure, Stray, Jumanji the video game, Paw Patrol on Roll and Ready Set Heroes, and then those that have PlayStation Plus Premium on the Classics catalog get No Heroes Allowed and Loco Roco Midnight Carnival. Pete, I want to ask it kind of in two ways, basically. One, what do you think of the list? But two, you were just talking last week about how you got a PlayStation 5 and you were going to get the intermission DLC. Well, now you have a chance at getting the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which has the intermission DLC. So did you pick up the DLC, and how do you feel if you did?
I have not yet. But, thank God I waited.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Really lucky on my part. Really high rolled that one. The list looks pretty good. Even though there was only a few games that I'm really stand out to me. I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed fan. I haven't played a whole lot of them. But I mean, we talked about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, Marvel's Avengers. The bit I played of that was awesome. I really enjoyed the character interactions. No Heroes Allowed. I've seen a couple of positive things about the No Heroes Allowed series in general, so would like to see that. And then it's on our list, Stray. We both saw it during the Summer Games Fest. That was like one of the highlights that we felt during that 2-hour slogathon that we went through. But that was one of the ones where we were just like, that was the PlayStation one.
That was the PlayStation State of Play. So it was when we were still like, that was good.
Yeah, we were all hyped for that one. And that was one of the ones that stood out, even in the PlayStation State of Play, which had a lot of things that stood out. And that was one of the ones that we were both like, especially you were like, ooh. And, but yeah, that looks interesting. And I'm really happy that that's a day one release. So like, it'll be really cool to get a grip on that and see how that one plays out. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I like this list. I am an Assassin's Creed fan, or like I have said before, I used to be a huge Assassin's Creed fan. I haven't beaten Odyssey, and I haven't picked up Valhalla yet, but I love that we're getting a lot of these Assassin's Creed games because I'm going to dive into them. But at least at the time when I was a huge Assassin's Creed fan, you have Unity there, Black Flag, Rogue Remastered, the Ezio Collection. Like, those are all some of the big Assassin's Creed games that I love. I find this a pretty good list. It's obviously not going to be straight away a Game Pass like shocker, type of thing, as I've talked about ad nauseum as well, that this is not supposed to. While a lot of people want to compare this directly and say this is the Game Pass competitor, it's not in a sense. It's basically a rebranded PlayStation Now, and PlayStation is not going to do what Game Pass does just yet. But I like this list. I think it's fairly good. Again, Final Fantasy VII Remake, for myself, who has the Intermission DLC and played it, obviously that doesn't work for me, but I just seeing that know that's a big game to get, and a lot of people are going to be happy with that. I do find it weird, though, that Marvel's Avengers is being basically re-added, because it was on PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now for a while not long ago, and then got taken away, and then later on went to Game Pass and is now back on PlayStation Plus. So I find it weird that they didn't just leave it on there, but I guess that's how it is. But I agree with you, Stray. My biggest complaint that I want to say, and I know for timing's sake I can't say this too much, but I picked up the premium version because I do think long term it's going to be great. But seeing that only 2 got added, and they're 2 in a sense they're 2 kind of whatever type of catalogs, classic catalog games, is fairly disappointing on the first mid-month. I figured you would have at least one big or shocker type of classic game to just really get people hyped, even if it's just still 2 games. But it's I'm going to throw it out there, even though I don't think it'll get added. But if it was The Legend of Dragoon, you would still have a lot of people as one of those going oh my God, here is the vision we have for this classics catalog. But we got 2.
Well, really,
they're
Well, really quickly, Jeremy, since you put it in the show notes, what about the spoilered titles that may or may not be released now from the Italy one?
Yeah, so I did have it in the show notes, and then we'll talk about it real quick. The ones that technically got hinted that I think is very likely coming next month is Dino Crisis, Ridge Racer 2, and Soul Calibur Broken Destiny. I never played Soul Calibur Broken Destiny, but I am a Soul Calibur fan, so that's cool. But the Ridge Racer and Dino Crisis, I think, are really awesome titles for exactly what this classics catalog would be. Again, the people who got the classics catalog like myself are not going to be expecting just this massive list all of a sudden right away. But still, we want to have these cool classic games that we played. And Dino Crisis is a really big get, and I loved Ridge Racer. So getting a chance to play Ridge Racer again, as much as it might suck, I'll love to play it. So we need to have more cadence, more better releases for those classics moving forward. And then just some quick updates. This doesn't really have to be a discussion, but we do have a Rumbleverse release update as well as Multiversus open beta. So Rumbleverse is skipping the early access that it originally was talking about, and it will now launch fully on August 11th. Of course, again, it is cross-play, cross-progression, and on basically every console I think is out there. And then Multiversus is going into open beta starting on July 26th, but EA early access will start on July 19th, and those that were in the closed beta like myself get the early access right away. You can go to the Multiversus website to try to sign up to get into early access, and it was announced the progression will carry over to the full release later on. So Pete, what's your thoughts?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When will you get into the open access or the open beta for
July 19th?
That's when you're going to get in? Personally?
That is when I personally will get in. But other people, I don't know when they'll get in. But I do
apparently
know.
My setup wasn't.
No, I'm getting right there. I'm getting right there.
Okay.
You ruined it.
Okay.
You ruined it.
I did ruin it.
Yeah.
I ruined it twice.
I get in on July 19th. The other people, they'll get in on July 26th or something else. But if you want to get into a game sooner than that, I'm going to tell you about some games that are coming up here for release, starting with Friday, July 15th. We have DC League of Super Pets, The Adventures of Crypto and Ace for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Dread Out 2, Xbox Series and Xbox One. Rune Factory 5 for PC. Loud for Switch. And Immortal Tactics War of the Eternals for PC. Tuesday, July 19th, we have As Dusk Falls for Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. That's coming to Game Pass. Endling Extinction is Forever for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Fallen Angel for Switch and PC. Into the Breach for iOS and Android. Stray for PS5, PS4, and PC. That is, again, a PS Plus Extra and above title. Century Age of Ashes for PS5 and PS4. Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels DLC for Xbox Series and Xbox One and PC. On Wednesday, July 20th, we have Severed Steel for PS5 and PS4. Keep that title in mind because you're going to hear it quite a bit here in a little bit. Tomestar for PC. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Thursday, July 21st, you have River City Saga 3 Kingdoms for PS4, Switch, and PC. Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp for PS4, PC, iOS, and Android. Bright Memory Infinite for PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch. Post Void for PS5, PS4, Switch. Koromon for Switch. Hellpie for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Severed Steel for Switch. And then on Friday, July 22nd, you have Capcom Arcade Stadium 2 for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Live Alive for Switch, and Severed Steel for Xbox Series and Xbox One. P, any of these catching your attention?
We already talked about Stray, so we won't go over that again, even though I barely mentioned it. Koromon, which I really enjoyed the beta when I played it. If you want a throwback to like days of old Pokemon, you're tired of the newness of what they're doing now. You want to go back to the olden ways and what it looks like before, and you don't care that everything kind of has decent names. They also have a kick-ass starter Pokemon name. Koromon name, I should say. It's not a Pokemon, it's Koromon. Get yourself that game if you're interested in the throwback to that. And then River City Saga 3 Kingdoms, and the biggest reason why is because I watched an anime recently called Paripi Kome, or Ya Boy Kong Ming. And one of the main characters is from the Three Kingdom story. And so I saw that and I'm like, well, now I'm super interested in the story and see like what it actually is, because I've never actually read the legend or history behind that. So I'm super interested in that game actually because of that anime.
Well, there you go. I mean, I will tell you, if you're super interested in Three Kingdoms, then you should just play some more Dynasty Warriors, because Dynasty Warriors deals with the Three Kingdoms. It's boom, right there, right in your face. But myself, I am interested, of course, in Stray, as we have talked about. I'm not going to pick it up, but Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 is very tempting because I loved that game as a kid. And so, like, I want to see, hopefully it's good. I know that it's going to have, like, a 4K resolution upscaling on the new consoles. I don't know what that's going to actually look like, but I love it.
You'll be able to see the blocks.
Yeah, exactly. I want to shout it out, even though it was not reviewed very well, but I am a huge Danganronpa fan. So Danganronpa S Ultimate Summer Camp, that is currently out on Switch. So I'm tempted on that one. But Live Alive is the one that I really have my eye on. I'm not going to pick it up right away because I just have a bunch of games that I'm currently playing. So it wouldn't be like a day one play. But yeah, it definitely is. Pete, for the people who are listening, just mouthed backlog, and that's what I talk about on every episode. So yes, my backlog, got to bring it up on this one as well, is a little bit too big. But Live Alive looks amazing, looks awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. I did download the demo, which you can do as well on Switch. It's currently available, so that's the one there. But
hell yeah.
That is all that we have for this episode. So, Pete, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with before we head them off into the weekend?
I want to leave you, Jeremy, with something. Go enjoy the Chicago Fire. Hope they walk away with a win for you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'm hoping as well. So I'm looking forward to it again. And I think I've told you, but I will say to our listeners, just very quickly, it's also the cool thing about going back to this game is I am actually going to meet one of my good friends in person for the first time at this game. He lives in Indiana. He is a Seattle Sounders fan, and we are sitting next to each other at the game. We've been playing video games with each other since 2010. So like I've known this guy for 12 years, and have never gotten to meet him in person, met him through playing League of Legends, and we finally are going to be able to meet in person. And so that's not, even if they don't come out with a win, at least I'll have that experience of going to finally meet my friend Adam in person. So Adam, I don't remember if he listens to the podcast or not, but obviously shout out to seeing you on Saturday.
We started out by saying it. We're going to end it by saying it. Games are fucking cool, man. They're really awesome.
Heck yeah, they are. So everyone, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. But that's the episode that we have here for the One More Game podcast. I've been one of your co-hosts, Jeremy Culver, aka Darce. This has been the California Thirst Quencher, Pete Legia, and we really enjoy bringing this to you. As always, everybody, stay hydrated, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep on gaming. We'll see you guys on the next episode.